Hey yo, how we doing though? Soul here, and welcome back to the story mode. So, if it wasn't clear, this is yet another traditional response video. About 2 weeks ago, I asked you guys what aspects you would like to see changed in the Generation 5 remakes. Whether it be changes you would like to see from the original games, or changes you would like to see in comparison to the last set of remakes that we got, you guys gave me a ton of different responses. But really quick, before we get into that, I'm so sorry, it's plug time. Blue.Sky, Twitter, and of course, the Discord server are the best ways to get ahead of videos like this one. Lately, I've been letting you guys decide what we're gonna do next based on whatever polls we run. And then of course, if you want priority on your responses whenever we do these, the Discord server is the best way to do so. If you want to keep track of any of that, go ahead and follow any of the links in my description below. Okay, sorry, tried to make that one quick. Hope it was fast enough. And so with that, the drill has been known by you guys for centuries. Why don't you go ahead and grab yourselves a nice hearty meal, maybe a good couple of eggs, and cook those up with some mayonnaise mixed in there. And why don't we go ahead and talk about changes you guys would like to see, or aspects that you guys would like to see changed rather, going into the black and white remakes. Starting with the Discord side of things, we have Big Dog DeVesta, who says, "The thing we all want but won't get is voice acting. Also, who's betting if they do add voice acting, we won't be able to swap between English and the original Japanese?" Yeah, no, I definitely feel like if we were to get the remakes anytime soon, it probably wouldn't be the place to start for voice acting. If we were gonna get voice acting, that's probably like a major Generation 10 thing. But in all honesty, even then, they have no reason to do that. I couldn't see them doing it. Also, if we only got Japanese voice acting with subtitles, I think I'd be perfectly fine with that. I watch a lot of anime subbed anyway, so it kind of works out for me anyways. I've played plenty of games that were only subbed, so I could live with that. Next along, we have the homie True CBE, who says, "My thing I want is the ability to play both Black and Black 2 or White and White 2 in one purchase so all of Gen 5 gets its fair share. As for any changes, please don't be chibi. Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl flashbacks. I want an at least semi-open world, if not fully, and add either Terra or Mega. Terra is more simple, but Mega is cooler. Not a huge Gen 5 guy, so that's all I've got." Well, not to disappoint or shut anybody down, of course, but I can tell you with 100% guarantee that we will probably never see Black 2 and White 2 ever again. Let alone in a quadruple package with all 4 games. No way in hell they would do something like that. I mean, again, it's not like it's impossible or anything. I do have on good authority to believe that they could possibly bring back a lot of the old classic Game Boy to DS era games on Nintendo Switch Online once we get the Switch 2, but I can't say for sure yet. But if we were to see it, it would be then. Probably not within the remakes era. As far as the chibi styling, yeah, I think too many people are too scared of that style to go back. Again, I'd be fine if it were like actually polished and looked something like The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening, or I guess at this point Echoes of Wisdom, since that's like the most recent game in the series. But regardless, unless it's like fully stylized and completed, I don't want that. I think I would rather have whatever we had in like Let's Go or something along those lines. And then as far as Mega Evolution and Terrestrialization go, we're probably gonna get Terrestrialization. It was very, very specific in the DLC for Scarlet and Violet that they made sure that the teacher brought Terrestrialization back to Unova specifically. They did not do that for no reason. So I have full confidence that we're most likely going to see Terrestrialization in the Gen 5 remakes, without a doubt. And lastly, to wrap up the Discord side of things, we have Pharaoh, who says, "A new character art style that's not as lanky and detailed as Generation 9, but not as chibi as Generation 6 is what I can really ask for. Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee still has the best art in the series, and I want to see another game with that character aesthetic." I completely agree, because like I said a moment ago, Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee is undoubtedly, while people seem to forget, the best looking game in the series by a mile. It manages to capture that fun cartoony aesthetic that Pokemon was known for once upon a time, while also making sure to keep realistic proportions and fun looking designs. I am no doubt more than okay with another game that looks exactly like that, and yet we have never been able to find our footing again afterwards. Absolutely insane. Again, I don't have anything against the idea of the chibi designs in the remakes, but if we're gonna go with that, you guys gotta go all out next time, and we can't really fumble, especially when the overworld has chibis, but the in-battle game models don't. Like I've been saying since Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl released, we gotta find a better balance. So that just about does it for the Discord side of things. Again, big thank you to everybody that responded there. And again, if you want priority responses, go ahead and join up in the Discord. And whenever I ask questions like this one, you could go ahead, answer there, and get your answer prioritized. With all that being said, why don't we go ahead and move over to the YouTube side. We're gonna go ahead and start with Comtus Steven 6199, who says, 1, I think they should make it maybe not full open world, but have a more immersive style with very large areas, more like Sword and Shield or Xenoblade games in general, but they would need to actually work on the different places you can go, including the cities, and make them interesting to be in and explore. 2, I hope they go in deeper with the story and add more and don't leave it 100% the way it was. They could even make it longer or tweak some elements or even change how events would go. I wouldn't mind. 3, if they do a 150 Pokédex like the original games, I hope we get a more dedicated animation for the Unova Pokemon and not the 3 reused animations from X and Y we are so tired of. Okay, we got a lot to work with here. Firstly, as far as going maybe like kinda sorta open world, yeah, absolutely, I can see that. Again, don't care what anybody tries to tell me otherwise. Pokemon Legends Arceus was supposed to be the Gen 4 remakes, which means that it was supposed to be something in that style. And all that tells me is that an open zone style of Pokemon games could absolutely work. It doesn't need to be open world, and it doesn't need to be so completely linear that it feels suffocating. And also, doing it that way makes it much easier to focus on the details of the actual areas that we're exploring. You can organize and develop them however you need to develop them to make them look good. Xenoblade Chronicles is definitely a lot more demanding. I mean, it's doable for Pokemon. It's not like it's impossible, but that's a tall order for a Game Freak. Let's let them get their bearings first. As far as the story goes, yeah, I'm more than down to have a couple of additional scenes and things like that to really add more context to the story of N, to the story of Getsis, to Team Plasma, maybe even some new Team Plasma members that have their own story going on, kind of like how we had with Courtney in Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. What's funny is though that of all the stories that could use some touch-ups and changes, Gen 5 is not one of them. At all. And as far as your third statement goes, yeah, I absolutely agree. More animations, the better. We can absolutely do that. Next along here, we have CartTube6, who says, frankly, I'd be a-okay with a Brilliant Diamonds Shining Pearl style remake if it isn't as buggy. If they would add some later cross-gen Evos and or regional forms in the main game, similar to Heart Gold Soul Silver or Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire, and kind of Let's Go Pikachu Eevee with the regionals. Base Black and White were already fantastic games that didn't need third version fixes like Diamond and Pearl needed with Platinum, so something faithful to the originals with some more Dex additions would be fine by me. I 100% agree with you here. Like I said earlier, don't mind the chibi style as long as it's actually crafted with love and care with an art style and genuinely polished. It is literally as simple as that. But even more importantly, when it comes to remakes, there is absolutely no reason as to why we can't have more options of Pokemon to utilize. One of the things that I think would have really helped Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl to an infinite degree would be allowing us access to Pokemon that would not normally be in that region. You think I care if it affects canon or whatever what Pokemon are available in the region of Sinnoh? I don't care. Let me use some Pokemon from Unova. Let me use some Pokemon from Alola. And what, you're gonna sit there and tell me that a handful of Pokemon from Galar would be absolutely insane to utilize from the underground in Sinnoh? Get the hell out of here, man. All I'm saying here is that I 100% agree with you. There is absolutely zero reason for the Unova remakes to hold back with what Pokemon were allowed to use. I'm just saying, man. If there is any Pokemon that deserves a chance to be utilized in the Unova region that would actually really fit the aesthetic, it would for sure be Armarouge and Ceruledge. Let's make that happen. After that, we've got the homie Ivan Zone, who says, I want sequels, not remakes. And you know why? Oh man, let me tell you my wishful thinking. I want all the content of Black and White 1 and 2 to be back, including the Pokemon World Tournament, PokeStar Studios, Join Avenue, Black Tower, White Tree Hollow, Battle Subway, Nature Preserve, and others. So the game will be filled to the brim with content from both games, and not only that, we would have more. Yes, plenty more content in this sequel. More Pokemon to catch, more areas to discover, more side modes and side quests, and whatever more you wish to add. Even if the games have awful graphics, if all the effort were to make all this content a reality, it would still be a peak Pokemon game to me. Ivan Zone, you and me, pal, we're like this right now, because I am literally scripting a video talking about why I would prefer to have sequels over remakes from now on. And I'm just gonna go ahead and state that now. That's kind of your preview, but we're gonna be talking a lot about this aspect very, very soon. But I 100% agree that I personally would prefer sequels over remakes. Black and White 2 was the perfect formula that didn't get a fair shake because people didn't understand what they needed or wanted at the time. And now that we don't have that, all we can do is complain about it. So why don't we go ahead and remedy this by actually giving us actual sequels again, starting with Black 3 and White 3, which would be a perfect start to a new cycle of games. I'm gonna repeat this exact line in the video that I make for this very specific topic, but I'm saying this now. I do not want to revisit the exact same region as before, especially if it includes the exact same story that I already know. We can take the opportunities to tell new stories with new characters, battling new enemies with other Pokemon from other regions while utilizing a very familiar area, a very familiar region. And that would give us the opportunity and excuse to renew and revitalize all of these lost mechanics. And the craziest part about all of that is you're completely right. Even if it had an unstable frame rate, even if it didn't have the prettiest graphics, guess what? It would still be much more valuable than just simply remaking Black and White. I don't want to say too much more on this because, again, we're going to be talking about this in a video very soon, but yes, I 100% agree. Next up, we have Gamer of Glory, the one and only, who says, make a no experience gained mode. That'll make things difficult enough to make even the most connoisseur of connoisseurs shut up. Probably as a joke mode. Oh, and 60 frames per second with no pop-in. I'll be able to see that tiny Joltik from Nuvema to Charge Stone while still in my room with microscope detail. In all seriousness, regional forms, dynamic cutscenes, and playing as actual humans and not chibis would make it the best game ever for me. Firstly, a no experience mode is demonic. We literally, physically could not get through that. However, an option to just turn off experience game for the whole team, cool, great, that's perfectly fine. 60 frames per second with no pop-in? Absolutely. That should be a thing. That shouldn't be a problem. Hopefully Switch 2 can remedy that. Maybe it can make it happen. We'll see what happens. And then lastly, I 100% agree. I didn't even consider the possibilities of regional variants for previous generations, right? I mean, granted, the Pokemon that are there are Cantonian or Unovian or whatever, but maybe we could make some other Pokemon from other regions Unovian if we were to bring them back here. That would be really cool, I think. That would be awesome. And don't even get me started on the dynamic cutscenes, but I just made a video on that. I just did. So, I mean, I get it. I really want to see some actual high quality cutscenes that just look super good and actually stick with me. Oh, goodness me. I 100% agree, though. I'm with you on this. Next along, we have a giant, meaty response from Luxray Blast. Bear with me now. I think the Unova remake should have separate overworlds and battle styles. White and White 2 should go for BDSP's more nostalgia-driven chibi style, while keeping the style of White and 2 closer to Scarlet and Violet. Black 2 should instead lean more towards the Scarlet and Violet camera angle, while still looking like the Black and White from DS. No chibis in Black and Black 2. White and White 2's OST would have to be cleaned up DS sounds, while Black and Black 2 have a more modernized Scarlet and Violet-like OST. Opelucid City is the inspiration for my take because it could literally show time's dividing line. The remakes could be called Classic White and Modern Black. In White's versions, battles also look like 3D Black and White battles, while Black's battles are the seamless transitions like the ones in Scarlet and Violet and Legends Arceus. The trailer could also initially start off with the chibi style to make everyone think these are one-to-one remakes. Then, when Opelucid City is reached, you see the Black version with White version showing that the two games have different looks, but they will play the exact same. So any battle mechanics that show up in Modern Black will also be in Classic White. However, because of the alternate art art styles, people who want to buy both games can enjoy them both, as one looks classic, the other is modern. You can also swap between styles, with Time Machine Man's Time Machine after bringing an electric type. There's also restoring old movesets to their home versions, so a Mighty Anna with Heal Bell that loses it in Modern Black Classic White can relearn lost moves there. So as long as it's got the national ribbon from a distant land, you can remember those moves. Not that I would know about that. That one was giant. The amount of takes in between that, you don't even want to know how many times I had to like redo a lot of that. Oh my god. To go over all of this would definitely have to be an entirely separate video, so we can eventually talk more in depth about this potential concept, but the long and short of it is, these are two very separate games almost. The concepts are definitely a lot of fun, especially because with a concept like this, them releasing both of these as Modern Black and Classic White would definitely incentivize most people to actively go out of their way to pick up both versions. But I'm gonna keep it $150 with you, Chief. These are some insane asks to have. One version of these games would look eerily similar to BDSP, but like, I imagine higher scale, higher quality, and just better overall, while the other game looks like a higher scale, higher quality Scarlet and Violet with essentially a reskin of Black and White, which would essentially turn Pokemon White into a remake and Pokemon Black into a rebuild. There's so much going on here. The ideas, don't get me wrong, are extremely fun, and if they could accomplish something like that, I would absolutely be all the more for it. But the thing is, they would not go out of their way to make two completely separate games for the same generation as remakes when they could just make one and the other like they've always done. If anything though, I will say the ideas that we have here presented with the whole like time difference mechanics and things like that, and being able to, you know, actively have a lot of the very familiar mechanics that we had in Scarlet and Violet utilized for the remakes in a Black 2 would probably work perfectly fine for both, honestly. And you know what? I'll give you props where props are due. The fake out idea would be insane. Like, we would be talking about that forever. Like, as much as we talk about the Dex cut type conversation, it would last for generations. So overall, very fun little idea that we have here. After that, we have Jay Does Stuff, who says, personally, I don't feel like BDSP style BW remakes would be that bad since base Gen 5 was pretty solid as is. However, if they were to go down that route, I definitely think they should have something similar to the underground area where you can find all the pre-Gen 5 Pokemon. Despite the older mons still technically being in the original game's code, unlike modern games, I know a lot of people didn't like being limited to only the Gen 5 mons initially, which is a valid compliment in my opinion, since a good part of Pokemon is the personal attachment to certain mons. I agree with you here. Again, like I've stated plenty of times in this video alone already, I am more than for the styling of BDSP if they were to actually go out of their way to stylize and perfect it and polish the hell out of it. The main point of your comment though, obviously being like having an underground with access to previous generations of Pokemon in one big area, which I don't even think it needs to be limited to just that either. In reality, as long as we have access to other Pokemon outside of 5th generation, we should be totally fine. If we're just going to be re-experiencing the story of Generation 5 again, the least they could do is give us some form of access to other Pokemon. And yes, an underground would be fun again. I wouldn't mind having an underground mechanic like that. Honestly, they should bring that back for a couple of Pokemon games, not just remakes. However though, I do feel like regardless of if we have an underground or not, we should still have access to other Pokemon in the overworld. It is true that they could easily have exclusive mons in the underground that we could only catch there, but in the overworld, we could just have a couple of Pokemon that migrated from other regions. That's not all that unrealistic and still wouldn't be that much of a stretch. I will say though, the idea of a modern style game with that underground mechanic, oh my goodness, that would be crack, boy. We would be down there for ages, man. Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's an exciting prospect. I would definitely love to see them utilize that mechanic in some way, shape, or form again. Next to that, we've got Fiction Fan Zero, who says, "One thing above all else, rebalance the level curve. If we are really going to be stuck with constant experience share, I'd rather have the levels reflect that. One of BDSP's failures was how easy everything, minus the endgame, was. So reworking the levels to account for consistent growth amongst all Pokemon is a huge leap in the right direction. As for the new stuff, make it a package duology, i.e. have the original and the sequel in one game, still separated by version, obviously. The benefit to this is that what you do in one game can enhance the other via each game's exclusive area. Black City White Forest. You can transfer Pokemon or get access to special items. I don't know, I didn't think that far ahead. Firstly, absolutely, I 100% agree about rebalancing the level curve. That's something that has been a consistent problem in Pokemon for quite a couple of years now, especially for the veterans like us who have been playing for way too long now and know these games just a little too well, and so therefore, the challenge is kind of lost on us. So I will say what I always say when it comes to the difficulty in Pokemon games, something I made a video on recently, by the way, go check that out. But yeah, rebalance the difficulty curve and just balance things a little bit better in general so that we can have actual difficulty, or just give us difficulty options. It's really that simple. And then as far as your other idea here goes, yeah, as much as I would love a package duology, I don't know if they're gonna do anything with Black 2 and White 2. Those two games, more than any other game, are in a very, awkward limbo. A lot of us personally feel like those games stand out from your standard, enhanced middle version like Platinum or Emerald or Crystal. What's frustrating about it, though, is that those games are treated exactly like the enhanced middle versions, completely ignored and ultimately forgotten about for whatever reason. And like I said earlier, I do think that we're getting to the point where we may actively see DS games on NSO once we get our hands on the Switch 2. So I wouldn't be surprised if they were to finally give us all of the Pokemon games that we've been begging for years now, but they were to still completely just ignore Pokemon Black 2 and White 2 for whatever reason. As frustrating as it is, that would not shock me whatsoever. So don't get it twisted, this isn't me trying to shoot down your idea of a duology or anything like that, because me personally, I love it. I would pick that up frame one. Unfortunately though, they have simply seen way too much success in doing separate versions. They probably would never give us anything like a package deal when it comes to Pokemon. No way in hell. I know you listed your benefits here as to why they should probably do this, but in all honesty, the benefit in of itself would just be having the games. I feel like all we want is to have those games back in our hands and properly acknowledged, but will it happen? I don't know. I really don't. And finally, we have Mini Slayer 3241, who says, "To begin with, I want to have both games remade, whether as two separate releases or as a single bundle. You see, Black 2 and White 2 aren't your regular third versions or definitive editions. Those are straightforward sequels, literally new games in the same regions, so there's no way they could be abandoned. That's pretty much all I want." That's super funny because I literally just finished that take and then in between read that and I was like, I just answered this. I just explained this one. But that in of itself just goes to show how important Black 2 and White 2 are to this franchise, doesn't it? Regardless of how much they've ignored it because they saw it as a failure of sorts, these games really did try to do something unique, fun, and different and attempted to take the series in a very different direction, something that a lot of us really appreciates now more than ever, now that we're grown and fully understand what they were trying to do. The Black and White remakes in of themselves, base games, are inevitable. We will probably get those in some way, shape, or form in a couple of years. But the Black 2 and White 2 remakes, I don't know. I don't know if that's ever going to be a thing. I don't know if they're ever going to even look at those games again. And that's a little scary because those games are very solid. Surely once we finally get our hands, or at least the announcements for the official remakes for Black and White, they'll do something. Even if it's just porting Black 2 and White 2 so they aren't completely lost to time, would make my life. Just something. Because, again, they are not your standard definitive editions. Those are completely separate stories with new characters and new things. Again, a full video about that is in the works. Don't even worry about it. We're going to talk about that extremely soon. So that just about wraps it up for this one. It's getting kind of late in the video. It's been almost a half hour, so we got to be careful about that. However, you know, again, if you guys want me to go over the 30-minute threshold, go ahead and just, you know, make sure to comment down below and, you know, like the video, give it a thumbs up so I know that you guys don't mind seeing longer, you know, videos of responses and things like that. So next time we do these, probably within another week or so, that we can, you know, get that going. But for now, we're going to go ahead and end it here. Again, if you want priority for next time, make sure to join the Discord server. And again, if you didn't get your comment responded to this time, don't worry. We'll have plenty more of these throughout the year. I want to do this much more commonly than I did before, and I'm going to own up to that for sure. But with that being said, that just about does it for everything in regards to black and white remake stuff for now. We'll do more, I promise. But with all that being said, I'm going to go ahead and pass the mic over in your direction, and I want you to tell me everything that you guys are thinking in the comment section below. Do you agree with what everybody has said here? Do you think that the black to white to should be part of the, you know, bundle for the remakes? They should be part of that when they eventually get released inevitably. Do you think that all of these different mechanics and all of these different changes should be put into the remakes? Or do you disagree with all of this? You don't think any of this should get touched, and as a matter of fact, we shouldn't even get the remakes? Tell me everything that you guys are thinking in the comment section below, because you know for a fact that I am always going to be down there with you guys. But with that, yep, it does appear to be skedaddle o'clock, so I'm gonna go ahead and do just that. I would like to thank you guys ever so much for watching. I truly do hope you enjoyed. Do me the greatest favor of dropping a like and a comment, and consider subscribing for more content just like this here. And with that, I'm gone. So thanks again, hope you enjoyed, and I'll be seeing you guys in the next video. Do me the greatest favor, taking good ass care, and I'll see you all next time.